More confirmation that Dungeons & Dragons is failing is coming from the 2024 Q4 financial report from Hasbro. It's looking really dismal out there, not just for Dungeons & Dragons, but also for Magic the Gathering, as Hasbro seems to be pivoting away from tabletop gaming with these products. Not a good sign, especially as core books have just come out. Yikes. Let's get into this news in just a moment, and let's see how we got here. One example of how we got here is this. Oh my gosh. This is real Dungeon Master's Guide art, my friends, with this like warrior guy, barbarian-ish, dancing with a dryad. You've got a Karen person lecturing another guy over here. You've got some weird midget elves over here, and you have some gay elves in the background. Yes, you got to have the gay in there, my friends. I guess this is supposed to inspire you to want to have a Dungeons & Dragons adventure. I don't think it's working. And we'll get into this again in just a moment. Please hit the like and subscribe button as we talk about all things in fantasy and tabletop gaming, my friends. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. I am a fantasy author myself. This is my new work, The Demon's Eye. And if you like Dungeons & Dragons, and if you like what it really should be in novel form, the R.A. Salvatore stuff from back in the day, you are going to love this book. It's about a party of adventurers that goes out and a reluctant hero who was a warrior for an evil kingdom, but he decided to hang up his sword and renounce doing violence, become a bard. And as such, he's faced with a terrible plight as a great evil is awakening in the land. So he has to build a party, get things done, and it's good versus evil. This is exactly what Dungeons & Dragons should be. You will love this. It's in the description below. It's on pre-order. It's coming out in 6 days, guys. Pre-order it today. Let's get these numbers way up and make waves in fantasy. Show D&D what it's supposed to be about. You'll love this. It's in the description below. Thank you guys so much for reading and making this such a success so far. Had some great numbers, and really appreciate all the readers out there. It's in the description below, as I said. So, Wizards of the Coast has done irreparable damage to the brands of Dungeons & Dragons and Magic the Gathering. If you don't know the background upon this, there's a lot to digest here. But the Q4 financial reports are confirming that these numbers are down, revenues are down, and profits are only holding steady totally for the department because of licensing and digital gaming. That's right. They combine Wizards of the Coast with digital gaming in their financial reports. It says Wizards of the Coast and digital gaming. So that way they can take losses with Wizards because of licensing to games like Baldur's Gate 3 and the like. So where they pay those money get paid to Hasbro for the licensing of these properties, the actual properties themselves are dying on the vine, not doing well whatsoever. Remember, this is a banner year. Things are changing for both of these companies. And for both of these products, Magic and D&D. And if you look at it, D&D just had core books coming out. This should be a banner year. When these core books come out, this is the biggest that a game ever sells, in theory. And since we covered the other day that the USA Today numbers are showing that they're actually doing a lot lower than Tasha's Cauldron of Everything from the last edition, not doing good. This is a very, very big writing on the wall. All hands on deck. Should be very, very scared with what's going on. Well, why is this? Well, Dungeons & Dragons, basically this edition is not that different than 5th edition. They've made some, quote, updates, but they've stripped out a lot of like the heart out of it, the sort of specifics of the setting, the character names, the races, and things like that, to just really distill it back to just this like very bland corporate lifeless product. It's very Hasbro of them. But on top of that, they've put all this weird identity politics into everything that just turns most players off, as despite what they say, and all the time, we have Kyle Brink from D&D saying, this is not the face of the hobby anymore. In my viewpoint, guys like me, meaning white people, can't leave soon enough. Well, they did. And unfortunately, most of the hobbyists who play this game are white males. It really is. It's like 80%, 90% white males, despite them trying to push as hard as they possibly can to get other demographics to play this. It just doesn't work. And I don't know that this works. I don't know that like producing images like this actually incentivizes Latinx people to play the game or whatnot, because it just is like a characterization of the culture which is like insulting. I mean, it really is. Are you going to call Mexicans orcs at this point? For real? But I guess it's better than calling black people orcs. Whatever. So the monster manual is excluding orcs completely. They cater to extreme gender ideology, turning traditional female characters like hags and dryads into something non-gender exclusive. And they've changed different parts of it, the incubus and succubus, to be a transgender sort of allegory at this point. Now, on top of this, there's Magic the Gathering. They've removed cards that are insensitive because, oh my gosh, that's scary. Invoke prejudice? That's not good. But hey, they've added weird transgender things into that too. Look at this female they, them with some stubble on here. And this is a character called Alicia who smiles at death, who was added to add transgenderism into the game. And don't forget what they did when they put Lord of the Rings into a set and turned Aragorn into a black guy. Nobody will ever forget this. This is like the biggest watershed moment in Magic the Gathering history where it's like, we are a woke property, everybody. And that was pretty much the end of that. Now, you could tell that they're already having problems when they're trying to get licensed properties into Magic to make it a thing by itself. They did Lord of the Rings. They've got Final Fantasy coming up. They've got a SpongeBob set that they just announced. I can't make this stuff up. It doesn't make sense. None of this stuff makes sense within the context of Magic the Gathering, and it just like waters down the game in the world because you had Magic have its own sort of like world building and lore with planeswalkers and the like. The Ravnica setting was really good. The Innistrad setting was really good. The Lorwyn setting was really good. The Future Sight setting was really good. I loved all these, and unfortunately, because of that, they've just completely abandoned it for just selling out and becoming soulless and corporate. Well, guess what? It's not doing that well, according to recent financials. It's not working for them. So they are painting a dismal picture. With the new core book coming out, D&D should be at its peak, with sales surpassing everything in recent years, but we've seen that the books are failing to chart. Wizards of the Coast and Digital Gaming are listed as flat for 2023 Q3. This was as they were coming out, right? And this is, again, they put Digital Gaming slammed in there with it. So you know that the core books were not selling that well at all because Digital Gaming actually made up for the losses that were done from Wizards of the Coast as that part. Revenues for Q4 for Magic the Gathering decreased by 1% for the company as well. While Magic the Gathering is said to be in a slump, it was picked up, and they called it flat to begin with, and they called all this because of Baldur's Gate 3 bringing the segment overall back to zero, according to the report. It's a terrible sign for tabletop gaming because they are relying on licensing out things to like Baldur's Gate 3, etc. Yeah, Magic, different licensing properties and things like that. They are not actually producing these games themselves and actually making money themselves, and it should be. Like I said, there's a new core set coming out. Like this is a jumping on point for D&D players. They should have been at their peak right now, but it just landed like a dud. Nobody's playing this edition. Nobody bought in on this edition. Nobody likes their whole one D&D subscription model that you don't even own your own content, right? It's just like everything else right there. And the Q4, their tabletop gaming is listed declining 22% in revenue. So this is Magic and D&D, and of course other tabletop gaming as well. But 22% decline in Q4. This is the Christmas rush. This is when it all should be at its peak, guys. When people are coming out there, again, you have new core books coming out. You have the Christmas season hitting. This is the spot where you should be doing the most. This is when your top product should be coming out, and you should just be raking in cash as a company like this. They're all going out to the retailers. The retailers should be having the best time ever, but people are not buying Wizards of the Coast products whatsoever. This is a red flag. If this is happening in Q4, that means Q1 is even worse because Q1 is when typically, again, things don't sell so much. Not much is going on. People are not buying retail. They're recovering from the Christmas season. They haven't gotten their tax refunds yet. And so there's nothing for people to buy. And it picks up again around summer. That's how retail cycles typically work. It really bodes ill for Magic the Gathering and Dungeons & Dragons. All they have left is licensing at this point, and it looks like Hasbro is moving more towards that. I'm seeing very similar in the comic book industry. The comic book sales on single issues are just not doing well. all the way around. And these companies are talking about, like DC Comics has been in talks over the last couple of years with different companies to actually license out things like Batman, Superman, etc. to other publishers just so they don't have to deal with the headache anymore. That's what they're doing with Warner Brothers, and that's exactly what they're doing with Hasbro. And we know Hasbro's like stocks and the like have been on a decline for a while. They've been in a lot of trouble just like trying to pawn off different projects, just trying to remove certain projects from their line because they are cutting. And when you're cutting, you're not growing. And so this is a huge, huge problem. Now with Magic and D&D being the top of the game, for tabletop gaming, this is a huge watershed moment that shows that the entire tabletop industry is in a lot of trouble, because if you don't have your flagship stuff going, then the stuff below it is not being carried as well, because people are not going into stores and not looking at this stuff. It's not a good sign for tabletop gaming in general. Looks like there's a big slump, and the reason is it's not just the woke who have taken over here at D&D and Magic the Gathering. The entire industry has been just completely upended by these people who are not trying to earn profits for these companies, who are not trying to cater towards players. And, there's huge opportunity here. If you're a game developer, now's the time. Start your own thing. Get on Kickstarter, because that's the way forward, I think. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Do check out my book, The Demon's Eye. It's right here, guys, in the description below. You're going to love this. Thank you so much for the continued support of all my books, guys. And if you're new, I come out with books very regularly. I'm a good person to follow on this level because I'm so prolific, and so you are going to enjoy being here because we are going to keep making our content great again and even better. I listen to you guys and what you want as gamers, as fantasy fans, and I try to incorporate all of that because I care and I want to make this great again. So thank you so much. Pre-order it today. Thank you for being here. We'll be back soon.